I thought this one did a good job of making them see both sides of a really difficult decision that they had to make. So it makes it really hard that, you know, at some point you had to empathize with somebody that's probably pretty bad, like a drug cartel, or you know, some of them don't empathize and they think that China is the bad guy because the Dalai Lama is, you know, the Dalai Lama and everybody loves the Dalai Lama. So for them, they had to think of it from two different perspectives, and to be able to kind of rationalize that not everybody wants the same thing, and that it's okay. And can you still, with people being different, can you still think of them as, you know, how can we come to a solution to solve something? Because the world is not always, you know, black and white and simple. It's very gray. So how can you work with these differences and still come up with a good solution at the end? And I think that's what the assignment was all about at the end of the day. So
you guys will see, and you're going to be pulling this up, you're going to see that a lot of these Latin American countries are the biggest coffee producers. Okay, coffee makes the world go round because coffee has what in it?
Caffeine.
Which makes people really productive, right? You can also see here that here are the biggest coffee consuming per cup per nation in the world. So coffee means a lot to that. Being controlled by a drug cartel. And a drug cartel is just basically like a really big gang with guns and money, and they make a lot of their money from drugs, and it's super violent. And a lot of times in these areas, I think of like Mexico and Venezuela and Colombia, they almost have more power than the actual governments. Here's the situation. All of these countries, the cartels have taken over, and they are holding all the coffee hostage. And all of these countries over here are not happy about it. And what we need to make sure that doesn't happen is that these countries invade and try to take over these cartels where we have all kinds of crazy bloodshed, which is what will happen. So your issue will be to solve this peacefully so both sides are happy. Right? Good luck with that one. All right. China took control of Tibet when they had their revolution, and they are what type of government now? China. Communist government. Okay? So when China came through, and in 1959, they took over Tibet, and they told the Dalai Lama that he was not in charge of this area anymore. He actually fled the country in 1959, and he has never been back since. So he's been away from home for like, what, close to 60 years now? Long time. And they always said if he came back, they would probably arrest him because he's kind of like an enemy of the state now. He's an enemy of China. So we're going to make that happen. And we're going to see. We're going to say that the Dalai Lama wants to come back home and rule over Tibet again like he thinks he rightfully should. Here's the problem though. All these Tibetans, the millions of Tibetans that are Tibetan Buddhists, say that they'll fight for him if they need to. Now we have a big situation, right? And guess who else really likes the Dalai Lama? India and also the US. So if these two get in a big war, then what happens? Who knows? I don't know. It's up to you guys. But what you have to make sure is that this peacefully gets resolved somehow with both sides being okay with it. Implications to solve for both parties. So there's a couple of questions that you're going to answer where you have to think about, all right, well, let me think about the cartel side, and let me think about the coffee drinker sides. What are the coffee drinkers looking for? What do the cartels want? And you really have to think about, sometimes they don't have the same interests in mind, but you got to try to find some sort of common ground in the middle so both sides are happy.